Hi, everyone. Good afternoon. Welcome. Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining. So, a couple more folks joining in. Welcome. Thanks for joining us. Hi, Vivian.
Hi, how you doing?
Good to see you. Hi,
Yes.
Sabino. Hi, Rebecca. Margie, good to see you as well. See,
Hello,
like,
everyone.
they're back to office.
Hi.
I feel like most people are back to office, at least in the video, what I'm seeing. Sabino, are you also back to office?
Sabina is muted.
I am in my apartment right now, but I'll be going to my office. I've been going every day to my office.
Yeah, it's starting to switch. I feel like around the world, it's like slow movement back to office. Yeah, Vivian, are you also working from an office space as well?
Yeah. We've been in the office for like I think more than a year now. So
I feel like government does not provide that work from home benefit.
no. We just work about 5 weeks, I think, from home. That was back in 2020.
Oh
But
wow,
then after that, and since May 2020, we've been working at the office. So
oh wow, that is a
Mhm.
while. Wow.
Yeah, that's a while. Yes.
Yeah.
Hi, Victor.
How you
Welcome.
doing? Yeah.
Hi, Habib.
Hi. Welcome. Hi, Habib.
Abby, Abby, how you doing? Abby?
Good, Victor. Great to see you. Thanks for joining us. Seems like nice
Hi,
and warm
Victor.
weather outside.
All right.
I
Thank you.
see, like right next to you is Don, who's like got the jackets. Seems like much colder in Colorado. Welcome. Thanks for joining. I'm gonna let folks in. I think we have a couple more people, and I'm just gonna get us started with the session. Thanks for joining. Okay, let me start getting us warmed up while a couple more people join. Thanks for joining. This is our fourth session, the second last session of this workshop. Today, we're going to focus on extending some of that creative confidence, some of that process of design thinking, focus a lot more on ideation and prototyping. So the first part of this session will focus a lot on ideation. The second part will focus on prototyping, and then we'll have some time for Q&A as well. So our plan is I'm going to do a quick check-in, talk a bit about your process so far. I've heard from a couple of you on how that's been going, so I'll address that a little bit. Then we're going to have ideation time. I've made sure to carve out solid 20-25 minutes for you to do some ideation with your groups. If you didn't get as much time during the week to connect and weren't able to make progress, this is going to be your time to do that. Then we have a special guest, Mohit Mukherjee, who's going to be joining us. He's the executive director of the Center for Executive Education, also the person who first taught me prototyping 6-7 years ago. And so I'm excited to have him join us and talk about prototyping from a theoretical perspective. And then we're going to actually have prototype coaching. So my goal is that each of the teams can pick 1, 2, 3 ideas that they want to be able to prototype in the next week before our final session. Again, you don't have to do 3, but maybe 1 or 2 that you can think about starting to prototype and what that really rapid prototype can look like in an early stage. So we'll have some time for him to provide quick. It's going to be maybe 5-6 minutes with each group in breakout rooms, and he's going to come and talk to your group about what your challenge is. He's already aware of the challenges. I've shared that with him, but he'll look at the ideas that you've come up with and ask you some questions around what are some prototypes that you can build within a week's period. So that's the game plan for the session today. Before I do a quick check-in activity, I also want to address, I know that considering that this is an online workshop, it's a little bit harder to carve out time to really dig deeper. And so if you felt like you haven't had the space to really hash out the problem and really go deep into it, that is definitely one of the challenges of hosting online design thinking, especially when it's spread out throughout like 5 weeks period. If it's done within a couple of days and you do it all day long, that's obviously a different story. But I definitely want to recognize that and address that. So if you're coming into this ideation feeling like you haven't fully captured everything about the problem and you wish you had 5 more hours with the person you're working with, that is normal. That is something that a lot of people have faced, and we're working with that constraint in mind. And so not necessarily trying to say there's a solution at this point, but I do want to recognize that and kind of address that a little bit as well. The ideation session will hopefully start kind of diving into concrete ideas. But something that I wanted to try before we jump into ideation was a quick brainstorming activity for us to get our creative juices flowing. So I'm going to move us to the next slide where we'll do a quick brainstorm. But before we do that, any questions on structure, any general questions that you would like for me to address before I move us along? Okay, so this is some of you are probably familiar with this. I know there's some theater students or people that practice drama, and so this might be familiar. But it's a quick activity that we borrow from the improv community, and so much credit to them. It's called Yes and. It's a fairly simple activity, and it's used quite a lot in improv. It's basically the base of how improv theater really operates. And so we're going to try to do something similar, but in the context of this course and in the designing process. So I will start in just a second. I will start with a quick sentence and share an idea with the rest of the group. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to tag someone, and then that person has to say yes and then really continue building up on that idea that I'm going to share. So in just a second, I'm going to share an idea and then pass it to someone. And then whoever that person is will then pick someone else. You'll tag another person, and that person has to build up on the idea that you have shared with them. Okay. And so we'll do a full circle, try to get everyone to share at least one yes and before we wrap up. So let me start. I'm going to pick, you know what? I'm going to pick Habib. Habib, I think we should have a 6-month reunion in Costa Rica towards like the end of the year for this whole class. What do you think, Habib? Oh, I think you're on mute still.
Yeah, yes.
Sorry, yes, and we should all spend time together designing a project or trying to solve a problem, passing on to Sabino.
Yes, and we should prototype at least 2 ideas at the University for Peace and elsewhere to compare the efficiency and the efficacy of the ideas moving out of our comfort zone. And I'm going to pick, let's see, Peter.
Yes, and after that, we can run around all over Costa Rica, testing everything and having fun with everybody and making friends as we go along. And then I choose Marge.
Oh, Margie, I think you're on mute as well.
Sorry, I have people walking in and out of the office. Yes, and I know that Peter mentioned that we have some fun, but also that we enjoy some sun, that we get to see the culture, I suppose, and the traditions, and that can help us get more ideas for other future endeavors, I think. And I choose Vivian.
Yes, and while I'm in Costa Rica, I would like to take some courses, do some workshops like the happiness workshop that's taking place next year, but like something like that, and learn from it so we can do it all together. It's very nice to do, I think, and to be there and do it personally. I choose Rebecca.
Yes, and we even get to build community. We get to bounce off ideas off of each other and even get to meet other people and teachers. Dawn.
Yes, and UPeace will pay for our flights and hotels because, that sounds like that's going to get me there to do all these great things. I choose Ivan.
Yes, and we're going to do all this stuff, but there are a lot of sloths that live in Costa Rica. So I want to have sloths attend all of our work sessions and fun sessions. And so I'm going to kick it over to Victor.
Victor, you're wrapping us up. What's your final idea? What's your final yes and?
Yeah, yes, and I think it's very important that we meet in Costa Rica and to do the practical work, that everybody will get the idea and visualize it so that we can come up with the final result.
Love it. Wow. So we get to create an idea, prototype it, go out there, enjoy some sun, have fun, try all the food. Slots, we gotta do do some work with slots, and then at the very end present a final recommendation. I think that's a fantastic work vacation combination that we can really create. So I love that. Thank you for all of your ideas, and thanks for participating in this quick activity. I'd love to do a quick debrief, and so maybe addressing a couple of these questions. And I'd love to, just feel free to unmute yourself, but what is the value of accepting each other's ideas and building on them? What are some values that we're seeing when we do that? Or how did it feel when someone accepted your idea and ran with it? How did that feel?
Yeah, hello?
Yeah, go for it, Victor.
Yeah, the value of accepting each other idea. First of all, no idea is considered to be less important.
Mm-hmm.
And once an idea is brought forth and it has been given attention and credence, and that particular idea can be evaluated, and then the idea can become very important, because no idea is a very foolish idea. And once it's an idea, it has to be tested and gonna make sure that you take the best of the idea.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's a value that in that idea. This is what you will be going for.
For sure. And when we have 10 people come up with 10 different ideas, some ideas could probably work in 6 months. Some ideas might need more time. And then we filter it out. But all of the ideas are super valid and very, very creative as well. Thanks for sharing. Margie, I saw you come off mute. Do you want to share? Oh,
just that you could see other people's perspectives. You can step out of your own box and you can see what other people are, in what direction they are going.
Mm-hmm. Exactly, for sure. It allows for you to figure out where the general direction of the group is as well. Yeah. So a couple of things, and I'll kind of move us along because we're going to do some more of this ideation today. But one of the things that is very, very important for us to kind of keep in mind as we do this next part is to really keep that open mind and really be collaborative and accepting each other's ideas. Because what's going to happen next is we're going to do a very quick ideation session. I'd say about 20 minutes, maybe 25. Mohit will be joining us at somewhere between 30 to 40. And so we'll have a few minutes of buffer to do some more work. But the idea is to go back to the Jamboard, go back to your teams, and spend the next 20 minutes really coming up with some ideas. And I want us to go for 10. And I want to target 10. Let's see if we can do that. I know some teams have already done that. So this will be chance for you to hash out the ideas. And I want us to remember these guidelines that I've shared. No judging others' ideas. I think what Victor has said, very important that all ideas are good, building on the ideas of each other. So really kind of connecting and trying to build on each other's concepts. Yes, and is a perfect thing to use. And so never having anything called no or no but, or but it cannot happen. All of those are on the side. We're all saying yes and to everything. Wild ideas are encouraged. One person talking at a time, going for quantity and enjoying the process, really having fun with it. If you don't come up with the perfect solution at this point, it is okay. You're all going to get a certificate for taking part in this workshop. You're not getting judged based on the type of ideas you come up with. So really have fun with your group, come up with something creative. I will be sending you some constraints throughout the process. And so every minute or so, I'm going to drop something on the chat. And there are different constraints. If you had all the money in the world, if you're thinking like an 8-year-old child, and use that constraint as a prompt. So if you feel like you're stuck after 5 minutes, you don't have any more ideas, use those constraints to really kind of refuel your idea kind of box, I guess. And I definitely recommend putting everything on your Jamboard. So I'll take a second to show you what the Jamboard looks like right now. It's the same Jamboard as last week. I'm gonna just put that in here. Just give me a second here. So the same 3 Jamboards, I've reshuffled it for everyone so that the brainstorm is on the first. Oh, the links aren't opening. Let me send it individually. So group 1, it's for Vivian, Peter, and then group 2. Feel free to open that up if you don't have it opened. And group 3. Okay. And when you go to your specific Jamboard page, the first thing you're going to see is one of these sections. And so if you see this, this is divided into 2 parts. So you can use the sticky note to brainstorm ideas. If someone is talking, make sure you're the one taking notes. So make sure you create that support for each other so that someone who's brainstorming can talk and someone else can write it down, put it in this brainstorm area. And then after the first kind of 10 to 12 minutes, I want you to start moving your favorite ideas on this part. And so really just move, 1 or 2 ideas. You can use a voting system, have a natural conversation and say, okay, maybe this is an idea that we really want to be able to do. The one natural constraint is time. And so you might have an amazing idea, but can you do it in a week's time, right? And with very limited resources. So that is something that you want to filter with. But when it comes to brainstorming, brainstorm as if you have all the time in the world. When it comes to your favorite ideas, start narrowing down to something that you can prototype within 1 week's period. Any question before I see people are already moving things? So any questions before I create 3 breakout rooms here? All good? Okay, let me create the rooms. It's gonna take me a second here. Group 1, Vivian, Peter, and Habib. Okay. Set that up. Vivian, Peter, Habib, and group 2 is Adriana, Margie, and Sabino, and group 3 is Don, Ivan, Rebecca, and Victor. So I'll see you back here in about 20 minutes, and then we'll go on to the prototyping phase.
Hey, how are you?
We're wearing like similar shirts today is what's happening.
That's right, with the little button.
Yeah, well, we don't know what's underneath, but the shirt is good, so that works fine.
Yeah, I'm actually wearing shorts today.
Yeah, it's basically the life, especially in Florida. I can't imagine. Okay, cool. So they're about to just be back. I've given them 2 more minutes.
Okay.
Sorting through ideas, but I did want to share a quick link for you to open. So I'm going to send this in your private chat. And if you want to, there are 3 different links for each of the groups. And this is where they're brainstorming their ideas and they're like sorting it out as we speak. And so as we speak, they're sorting out, they're picking like 2 to 3 ideas. I've told them to go for more. And so they're going to sort this out. And then the goal is for us to have that first 20 minutes, 15, 20 minutes for you to present. And then the last 20 minutes or so for us to kind of go with each group individually and really provide some of that coaching. I've called it coaching instead of more of a conversation, but I did want you to have the links just in case if it's helpful to look at the idea.
Okay, perfect. Perfect. So good stuff. I'm trying to think if there's anything. No, let me just remind myself something.
I'll make you a co-host so you can share your screen.
Okay. Yeah, so as soon as the last slide that I have, excuse me, is about like giving them a few scenarios, asking them, how would you prototype this? And then after that, then you take over to have them in their rooms or whatever. Okay.
Yeah, so I'll just kind of, I have the breakout rooms already set up, so I'll just open it up and then give them, so they will have a little bit of time where they're with their groups themselves. And as you join group one, the other two groups are starting to think of how they're prototyping. Then you're joining that group, you know, starting to have a conversation. And obviously the first group will have a little bit less time, but maybe we can give them a 2-minute head start just so that they can go and start having some conversations before you join. How long do you think the presentation will be? About 20 minutes, you think?
Yeah, about like the last part can go long. That's the part I can shorten, which is interactive. Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah, it's not long.
Perfect. Okay.
No.
Okay. Okay, everyone's coming back in 30 seconds.
Okay.
Did the links work out for you to open? Yeah. Okay. Perfect. This is Miguel's template. I love that design thinking, like brainstorm template, because it nicely sections off like initial ideas and
For some reason, when I share screen, they might see the PowerPoint at the bottom. I don't know why that's happening, but it's not a big deal.
Okay. Hi, everyone. Welcome back. Welcome back. Welcome back. Awesome. Okay, I think that's about it. I think we're a full group. Thanks for joining in. I also, in the meantime, invited someone special to join us, and so we've got Mohit here, who'll be talking to us for the next 40 minutes or so. Mohit, it seems like you've got some familiar faces, so this is wonderful. I hope everyone was able to kind of brainstorm through ideas. I saw one page filled with ideas, so it's great to see a lot of great ideas. We're going to move to this next phase where we're going to start talking about prototyping. And the next 40 minutes, we're going to divide it into 2 halves. In the first half, we're going to try to talk about what prototyping actually is, some case studies. Mohit's got a wonderful presentation to share with you all. In the second half, I'm going to send you back to the same breakout rooms that you were in for you to start having conversations on which of these ideas can you prototype within the time frame that we're working with, the resources and the constraints that I've shared, right? It's a 1-week turnaround. What are some ideas that we can really prototype? And so you'll have some time to do that as a group. Mohit will join each individual group and provide you with some feedback, ask you some questions. He does have access to the Jamboard, so he's seen some of your ideas already, but this will be an opportunity for you to have some question and answer time with Mohit and coaching time as well. So with that, let me get us started on this next phase. And so we're going to talk about prototyping, and I prototyped a slide for this section to introduce Mohit, which is actually this photo. And so I thought I'd start with just a quick introduction of Mohit. Mohit is the founding director at the Center for Executive Education. He's also been part of numerous design thinking sessions and has led this program for many years now. And I wanted to share a quick story before I pass it to him. So about 6 years ago, I was in Boulder, Colorado, and I was building a venture called Bean Voyage, which has been one of the ventures that I've been working on for many years now. And we were prototyping, or we were struggling to figure out what the right price point was for our coffee. At what price should we sell it? And we struggled. We looked at a lot of research, but we didn't really know what the customers wanted. And so I took the design thinking course with Mohit, and we had a session on rapid prototyping. And within a couple of hours, Mohit tasked everyone in the class on different challenges. And my challenge was to build, within the class time period, we were tasked to build a quick prototype of a Google form that allowed for me to collect survey data from people on how much they would pay for a coffee, what kind of certifications would they want, do they want the story, do they want the quality, all of that assumptions could be tested in a very short period of time. And then after building that form, Mohit actually sent us out, the entire class, to the street called Pearl Street on Boulder, where we had to go out there and talk to as many people as we could within, like, I think it was an hour, if I'm not wrong. Within an hour, we had to talk to as many people as possible and get feedback on our products, on our quick prototypes. And funny enough, I did spend quite a bit of time there. I'd say maybe a bit about like 2 hours we ended up spending. And I spoke to 70 people. Is 70 people in 2 hours. Not everyone responded, not everyone gave me feedback, but it was 70 people that was informing the price point for Bean Voyage's initial coffee offering. And so I've deep respect for Mohit and the way he approaches prototyping, and I'm just really honored to have him here with us today to share a little bit about what prototyping really is and how we can get started in this process. So Mohit, on to you for.
Fantastic. So, firstly, thanks everyone for having me, and lovely to see some familiar faces. So I want to highlight one thing from Abhi's story. It's easy to tell people, hey, you know what? You need to rapidly prototype and you need to talk to random people and get feedback. That's easy to do. What's hard to do is to actually get out of the room and have those conversations, because Abhi, I'm sure some of the people you stopped and said, hey, they ignore you and walk on, right? And so that was the only group that had talked to so many people. There were other groups that came back and said, Mohit, I couldn't find anyone to talk to. So it is rapid prototyping often puts one out of one's comfort zone. And there's a lot of learning that can happen there, but it's also uncomfortable. So that's lots of credit to Bean Voyage for running with that framework to make things happen. So let's do this. I want to just jump into some stories and around prototyping, and then really it's about how does this all relate to what you're trying to do, right? So the context is only valuable if it connects back to what you're doing. So first time I share screen, are you seeing it okay? Okay, so this is where you're at. You've done some ideation, you're ready to prototype. And one thing I want to acknowledge, I don't know if you've ever shown this slide before, but it's the idea that, design thinking, we want to be able to ideate and brainstorm and get super creative, generate a lot of ideas, because some of those wild ideas might end up being part of what you finally go forward with. But at some point, you want to then apply certain criteria and make choices. What should I prototype first, right? How many prototypes should I build? So it's moving from that creative idea generation to let's apply some criteria on deciding how do I move forward. So a few critical questions to ask when you get into the prototyping mindset. So firstly, when I talk about the mindset of prototyping, let me stop sharing screen. I want to see what do you think that means? Like, so firstly, just the word prototype. Who wants to just explain what that means to you? What is a prototype? And I'm happy to pick on someone very soon. Ivan, it looks like you're typing, but John, go for it.
It means it's not the final thing, but it's the thing that you're going to see if it works. And from that thing, you'll be able to make tweaks and changes. So it's not the final product. It's an iteration.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm not somebody who's big into definitions and things, but like the one image that comes to mind of a prototype, and back in the days, architects would always prototype a building first, because if you build a house for somebody and either it collapses or it's not what they want, you're not in business, right? So you build a little prototype. What do you think? You pick it up. You like this. And then you can iterate, because it's too expensive to build the structure and have it fail. So at the heart of rapid prototyping or prototyping is to get to something that's good. And by good, I mean the client is happy, it serves the purpose. You need some trial or some room for trial and error, right? And that's your prototype. So thanks, John, for clarifying. So let's go back to the second question I have for you. So what does it mean to have a mindset of prototyping? Now, I want to break that down. The word mindset itself is complex, right? mindset. So anyone want to attempt to deconstruct what does it mean what's a mindset?
It's the expectations of the stakeholders who are using and learning from the prototype, right? You're assuming that it's not perfect. It's simply there to give you something to test and learn from.
Yeah, that's great, Ivan, because the mindset, our mindset, typically, I'm going to generalize, is we want to make things that work well. We want to look good in front of people. We don't want to fail. We don't want to put up something and people say, well, it looks like you did that, Mohit, in 2 hours. Yeah, I did, because I want to have this conversation so that in 20 days, you're not unhappy with me. So Ivan, there's a mindset of this is quick. This is to have a conversation. This is not perfect. This is not meant to solve all the problems. This is meant to get some feedback and test, but more than just calling you up on the phone, because then you don't have anything to show. So it's a mindset of, we're not there and I've tried something. I want your feedback, right? That's a very different mindset from what we usually have. Any thoughts on that mindset? How do you adopt a mindset? How do you switch mindsets from I want to look good, I want to do something that's valuable? I mean, sorry, I'm going to answer this question. I think you have the mindset of you trust in a process where at the end, you're going to satisfy the customer at a much higher degree. That's Victor, anything? No.
Yeah.
Okay, so Don?
My question is about mindset, both the mindset of so when Abhi went out and he talked to those 70 people, right? So Abhi has a mindset, and then, but if you're giving a proposal about a product to a company that you're building it for, we don't have any control over their mindset. So what is the mindset we must also have in order to take that critical feedback? Because in my experience, sometimes the client is full of no buts when you're really looking for yes ands. And so then it helps my mindset starts to be like, oh, I feel frustrated, so I just want to know where that factors into the mindset to stay positive, looking for the yes ands when sometimes all you're getting is no buts.
Yeah, no, that's an excellent question. So Don, I'll jump in and specifically answer, though I think there could be different perspectives on that question. So when you're in the selling mode, you talked about when I give a proposal to the client. At this point, you're putting your best foot forward. You're trying to get the client to say, I trust you, Don. I'm going to buy from you. It's not a prototype, right? You might be selling them a vision. That vision might be huge. It's like a new way of doing education. It's this beautiful building, whatever it is, right? You're selling them a dream. Okay. So now they've sold, you're sold at some level, they've bought. Now you have to, educate whoever is within your client group. There's somebody who's a champion. There's a group of people who want this to be successful. They're vested in it. And you have to tell them about, this is the process that I'm going to work with. I could wait for 2 years and show you your perfect product, but I'm going to call you every 3 days and run something by you. Why? Because I'm rapidly prototyping. What do you think of that? So as soon as they understand the method and the madness, you've got buy-in to put imperfect prototypes in front of your client, but it's not at the proposal process typically. Thanks, Don. Yeah, great question. Okay, so mindset. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, sorry. Okay. On the issue of mindset is that really what I want to know is that you are a team that you work on the idea and decided to go out and to get a feedback on the idea. Now, are you going to ordinary individual or are you going to a company to really put for the idea?
Great question. Yeah. So Victor, you are looking for people who are either potential customers, right? Or very close to that profile of potential customers. If that
Yeah.
makes
Okay. Okay. Let me ask. Will you reveal your design to the company, or it's just of a survey are you going to conduct?
Yeah, the prototype could take many shapes or forms. It could be a survey, and based on your feedback, based on the feedback you get, you make certain decisions. It could be a product. So let's say if I design this coffee mug, like this coffee mug has a little hole in it, and it's supposed to hold boiling coffee, and people are supposed to drink without burning the lips, right? So could be a product, and you test it out and you get some feedback. So it depends on what you're trying to design. The prototype could look quite different. So
Okay.
yeah. And in fact, let me go there. So now I want to just get into some examples real fast, because but you have to embrace the mindset of imperfection and rapidly trying things. So here are a few considerations as you get into the prototyping mindset. When you're prototyping, you're actually checking assumptions, things that you think are going to work, and you're checking them. Which assumptions are you going to check? The most important assumptions for your product or service to be successful. How fast and cheaply can you build your prototype? If it's going to take you 3 months, it's a pilot, it's not a prototype, right? Try to make that as short and cheap as possible, because your prototype is meant to fail, right? So you don't want the cost of failure to be too high. And then, you know, Victor, to your question, how could you get quick and reliable feedback on your prototype? So if I'm building a coffee mug for senior citizens, because I've determined that their lips are more sensitive than younger people, but I'm testing it with all my teenage friends, I have teenage daughters, then it's not reliable, right? Obviously, like so as close as possible to your customer demographic. Okay, so some examples. So like, you know, a lot of people build apps, you know, even if you're whatever it is, a lot of people build apps, and so they hire somebody to build the app, and then the app doesn't work. So this is a prototype of building an app. You draw out what your home screen looks like, what happens if you press this, what service is going to, that's the prototype. And then you show it to somebody who might use the app, and they're like, well, if this is my banking app, it can do this, but it doesn't tell me how much I've spent in the last month. Can it do that? Right? You don't need to program anything. And that is very much best practice in from website design to app design. Abhi, what's this called? There's a specific
wireframing.
Wireframing, right? Okay, then Zappos. I don't know if you've heard of this company called Zappos. They sell shoes online. Yeah, and they started off selling shoes online. Now they sell other things. When they decided to sell shoes online, nobody sold shoes online, because the experience of buying shoes is you go into a store and you try them. Who the hell buys shoes online? But they thought, you know what, people are getting so busy. If you can buy them online and you can try them on, and if you don't like them, you can return it, that'll make people buy shoes online. So they did not buy 100,000 pairs of shoes and then start telling people you can buy shoes from online. What they did is they set up a website saying, we're an online shoe store, buy any pairs of shoes and we'll deliver it to you. They just wanted to test, is anyone going to buy shoes online? So as soon as somebody placed an order for a pair of shoes, guess what they do? They'd run to the closest shoe store, buy that pair, and then send it off. So they'd fulfilled the delivery, but they never owned shoes. Initially, they were just testing. Now they have warehouses with lots of shoes. So that's an example of prototype, because they were trying to prototype the assumption, is anyone going to buy? This one is an interesting story. It's actually the David Kelly, the founder of IDEO, who talks about it. You know, it was an MRI machine for kids. So MRIs, obviously, when a kid is getting an MRI scan, they're injured for some reason. And so now they're in a hospital, they're in this scary machine, they have to stand still. the guy who designed the machine had actually never prototyped it, never seen, well, he prototyped the electronics of it, but he'd not prototyped the experience that kids have going through this machine. Many of them are terrified. Many of them have to be sedated to go through these machines because so when he saw this, he's like, oh my God, I only thought about the technical aspect. I didn't think about the experience. What if we created as if it's a pirate ship, and you're going through, the kids are going through this pirate ship and they have to keep still, otherwise the pirates will get them. And so then they tried this. You can see the MRI machine has been decorated as if it's a pirate ship. And the kids went from crying and being terrified to saying, Mom, can I come back tomorrow? Can I come back tomorrow? So, that's an example of rapidly prototyping a new experience. Okay, and then I have a short video of this guy, Tom Chi. He's somebody who really went from you should prototype your idea to this. He talks about rapidly prototyping. Like if you're going to prototype in 1 week, he'll say, can you prototype it in 1 day? If you're saying I'm going to prototype in 1 day, he say, can you do it in 1 hour? And so I want to play 1 minute of his video because I think it's pretty insightful. It's totally the mindset of prototyping. By the way, he used to work at Google X. He designed something called the Google Glass, but I'll just play 1 minute. You get a sense of his energy and belief around rapid prototyping. Okay, if you don't see it well or hear it well, let me know and then I'll do something else.
With Google Glass, with $20,000 in prototyping material and 3 people, in 3 months, we built 150 hardware prototypes. My name is Tom Chi. Rapid prototyping is the process of finding the fastest path to a direct experience of the thing that you're trying to create. Coat hanger connected to a piece of plexiglass. Right here at this juncture, there is a Pico projector. For me, rapid prototyping is not really like a tool like a 3D printer or laser cutter or anything. It's actually more of a mindset for how one approaches learning, that one learns by actually creating and experiencing as opposed to researching and analyzing and debating. The way that I describe it is doing is the best type of thinking. So most people think about outcome-based goals. It's like, I want to make a company that does this. I want to make a device that does this. Here's the outcome. A rate-based goal is really useful if you don't know what you're going to make, or you do know what you're going to make, but you don't know how you're going to get there. And what is a rate-based goal? It means expressing what you're going to do as a rate of doing.
Okay, I'm going to pause it there. Anything stand out for you in that video? Anything he said?
Yeah, I like what he said about doing is the best type of thinking. That really stood out to me.
Yeah. So you can do some research. Research by definition is looking backwards on things that have been said. But he's saying that the research he wants you to do is by doing something, right? Like talking to people, putting something in front of them. He said that kind of research at the point of prototype is super valuable. How do you measure progress? How fast are you trying things? That's a new measure. Yes, Sabino?
Yes, Mohit, good to see you again.
Likewise.
I was wondering whether you only prototype like a model of the end product or service, or whether people also prototype components or sub-products of the end product. You see what I mean? For example, if I'm thinking about putting out there a new course or coaching course, could I coach a module, an activity, the whole thing? See what I mean?
Yeah, in fact, let's go with that example, Sabino, because I did have some examples. I might skip them. So, and I'll answer your question. So if Sabino wants to become a coach, and he might have, let's say, a 12-week coaching program, right? That's the end goal. What can he prototype? And I would answer the question in a few ways. One is you can have different prototypes. You would probably need different prototypes. Your prototype is a strategic prototype to test some of the biggest assumptions you're making. So one assumption that you're making is that you're going to be a good coach, right? Assuming that you're delivering this, you're not hiring others. So you might want to, you know, set up a coaching session with me or with Abhi or with someone from this class over the weekend and say, hey, can you give me some feedback? Did you feel I was a good listener? Do you feel supported? So you can prototype and how much do you enjoy it? That you can prototype, because most people are happy to take a free coaching from someone with your credentials, so that you can prototype. Now, the other thing you might want to prototype is anyone going to buy coaching from someone, and I'm making an assumption here, somebody who doesn't have a coaching credential, right? So that piece, how might you prototype? You could reach out to 20 professional contacts on LinkedIn and offer a 3 one-hour coaching sessions. And then you can also test a price point, a low price point, because you're not testing the price point now. Would anyone buy from you if you're not credentialed? And if all of those contacts say, hey, Sabino, I can't buy from you, you're not credentialed, then you probably think credentialing is a good thing, right? What's another thing you want to test is, I don't know. I mean, those are the 2 big ones I would probably test but if there's another assumption that you're making, price point is one that is good to test, that you can do some research on. If you just Google how much do coaches charge, you get some feedback. So certainly some things you are like, I don't need to build the prototype. That is a Google search away. But do I enjoy it? Will my network buy from me? Is Zoom a good platform to do coaching? That you can quickly test. So back to, you have different things you're thinking about. Test the biggest assumptions that you're making in a prototype. So it doesn't have to be the whole kind of thing or service. Yeah. Shall we, Abhi, I think hopefully this was, I wanted to give everyone just a little bit of where rapid prototyping comes from, where it fits in, some examples, but maybe at this point it'd be very valuable for people now to go back into their actual ideas. But first, any questions? Any questions?
Yeah.
Go for it, Victor.
Yeah. Sorry. You have an assumption that you have a business and you develop an idea. You assume within yourself that the idea is the best, because most of the businesses for some community, this design idea is my first time getting to learn about it. But within some community, people do not really go and get a feedback. People do not really go and do the testing process. Now they assume that what the product they have is the best product within the community. Now you assume that your product is the best, and you went to do the testing without asking anybody, because you already have the assumption. You say, yes, indeed, my product is the best, and did not ask anybody. If you go and fail, how can you be able to reconsolidate yourself in the process if you fail? Because you already assume that your product is the best already. So because of that, you did not really go
right
here.
Yeah, Victor, so the quick answer to that is, a lot of successful entrepreneurs have lots of stories of failure, right? Because I could tell you about the importance of prototyping, but if you fail because you didn't prototype, it'll be much more, I would say, ingrained into you that I should have prototyped, because now I invested $10,000 and my idea failed because I never tested it. So yeah, the entrepreneurs, one of the qualities of entrepreneurs is they tend to be pretty resilient. They tend to look at failures as an opportunity to learn from their mistakes. And they tend to be, yeah, I'd say persistent sometimes too much because the world changes. You have to also be flexible. But yeah, so a lot of entrepreneurs will say, you know what, my first product, I thought it was perfect because I used to love it. My family loved it. But when I tried to sell it to the market, nobody bought it. And I had already spent, so much money producing it, but I'll never do that again, So Victor, yes, that happens a lot. And don't lose, I would say, that sense that there was a lot of learning in that failure. So great question. Thank you. Let's do, go ahead.
My second question is now you did prototypes, this prototype, and you get the assumption that indeed you are on the right path.
Yeah.
That you are going to get a customer.
Yeah.
Now, does the environment matter? Because if you are successfully prototype, where will you be able to have your environment? Will you have, if you sit among other people that already have similar design, will you be able to succeed among those people? Because
yeah, you
came up with a design, all right, and your design perhaps is different from other people, but other people get a similar, they get design that almost in the same line with your design. And which of the environment will be suitable for you?
Okay, Victor, I'm gonna answer fairly rapidly. Again, I don't know the specifics you're thinking about, but generally speaking, if you're prototyping something and you're creating something phenomenal that nobody else would know about, but you've prototyped so much, you've really, and you want to be in business, don't share that design with others because they might copy it. But if you are, let's say, Sabino, to your thing, if you're designing a 12-hour coaching program, a lot of people design 12-hour coaching programs, right? So the context in which you're marketing it, your price point, how you market it, that's going to make the difference. There are many vendors for coaching, but it's also a multi, I don't know, billion-dollar industry. But the context matters. Sabino, if you tried that in Victor's country, the price point might be too high, or there might be other ways that people are getting their coaching needs fulfilled. In North America, there's an epidemic of loneliness. People don't have someone to talk to and just get feedback. So there's a huge demand for coaches. So Victor, context matters, but you can still be successful with your product or service, even if there's 100 different people doing almost exactly the same. Great question. Thank you. Abhi, let's do this. I think it will be valuable for people to go back to their ideas now and just think about what their prototype might look like.
For sure, yes. So what we'd like for you all to do, and I think we'll have about 15 minutes for this, so we'll make it fairly rapid is the word for the day today. So we'll make it pretty rapid. And the goal for this is I want you to go back to your Jamboard and really start selecting what are 1 or 2 ideas that you want to prototype and that you can prototype within the 1 week. Again, just as we learned, 1 week is almost too much time in some cases, as Tom Chi would say. So you do have that constraint. And so within that constraint, what are some ideas that you can prototype within the next week and bring it to class to really present to the rest of us? Mohit and I will give you a few minutes of head start so that each group has a couple of minutes to start selecting. And then we'll join, group 1 will join you in your breakout room. We'll have a quick conversation, then we'll join room 2, and then we'll join room 3. Our goal is to spend enough time to be able to answer any of your biggest questions that you might have. So you'll have a second to present it, but the goal is for us to answer questions. So if there's something that you're feeling stuck with as a group, this is a great time to ask questions to Mohit, and we'll then come back for a quick recap before we wrap up for today. So that's the quick game plan. Let me get the breakout room started, and we'll give you a couple minutes of head start. So we'll start with room 1, and then we'll go to room 2. So your room 2 will have a few more minutes, and room 3 will have a lot more time as well. So we'll see you all in a couple of minutes.
Before you all close as a group, I'm going to just thank you for allowing me to share a little bit of this topic that I feel is very powerful, and you're in such good hands. Abhi, wonderful to be able to join as a guest speaker. So thank you very much, everyone. And I'll
Thank you.
Thank
so
you,
much.
Mohit. Thank
for
you so much.
taking time
Bye.
and for sharing all
Thank
the
you, thank you,
insights with the group.
thank you,
Um,
thank you. everyone.
Thank you.
Victor.
I'll take a minute before everyone drops out, just to quickly recap what we're going to try to achieve over the next week. And so, again, if you were able to hash it out, perfect. Now start focusing on that. Again, we're trying to really focus in on one or two ideas. And so you've kind of shared some of these, and I want you to kind of think of that. But before I read that, here's what I want to do next week. So we'll make time for 10 minutes per team. And for each group, prepare a presentation of your prototype. I don't want a PowerPoint. This is not a PowerPoint type of thing, but really bring that product. Is it something that you make, a physical product? Is it a platform? Is it a website? What's the simplest version of it, a very low cost version that you can bring to the rest of us to present next week? What we'll do is we'll have a bit of an exposition style. So each team will get to present, and then the rest of the group will give you feedback. And so you'll be putting on different hats. You'll be putting on the hat of the consumer at some point, and you'll be giving feedback to each team during the second session, second part of that session as well. So that's our challenge for next week. There are a couple of other readings that I'll be sharing this week. And once week 5 opens, which will happen, I believe, on Thursday, you also will see our long list. It's 10 different recommendations that include some books on design thinking, include some videos, some decks on design thinking as well. Also, shout out to Don. I think you shared some incredible resources, including a course that you can also take. So use the forums to really share out some resources so that we can build a pretty strong repository of materials and a wealth of materials that we can share with each other as well. But here's a final quote that I want to give before we wrap up for today. So design thinking is the confidence that everyone can be part of creating a more desirable future and a process to take action when faced with difficult challenges. So with that, I'll wrap up for the session today. Thank you so much for being here, for engaging, and I hope you enjoyed the time with Mohit. He's always a pleasure to have as well. And we'll look forward to seeing you next week. Thank you, everyone. Thanks a lot. And I'll stay back for just a minute if anyone has major questions, but if not, we'll wrap up.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Sure.
I have a quick question.
Yes, no, I'll stay back, Sabina. So anyone that has questions can stay back, and yeah, happy to answer.
Do you want to record this too, or will you just stop there?
I can pause. Yeah, I can.